Alrighty, everybody, let's hop into a game and see what we get. Let's start off with our Queen's Pawn game. I like this Queen's Pawn game. I've been playing it pretty consistently now. Moving into some kind of Queen's Gambit or Queen's Gambit Declined. Technically, that's already defended once, so it's not that big of a deal. So this is a Queen's Gambit setup. And now I have to... At some point, I'd like to go ahead and make this exchange. That's kind of the system. That's kind of the way I like to play this. I have found that it fits pretty well with the games that I like to play. Another question is, I'd like to make this exchange. Notice it immediately comes with pressure on this particular knight, but I don't want my knight to be trapped because if my opponent grabs back with the queen, I would like my knight to be able to dissuade that. The only way to do that is to unpin. So let's start by unpinning. Not my favorite move. I'd like to get my my bishop out because I'm going to close in this pawn chain here eventually. I'd like to get my bishop out and about, but this, like I said, does allow me to capture here. And if my opponent, it means my opponent can't capture back with the queen and doesn't give them free centralized queen. My opponent captures with the knight, then I'll capture back with the knight. But capturing with the pawn is what I like to see because then it gives me the option to move my bishop off of this long diagonal. Reposition my light square bishop to fianchetto. So we fianchetto the light square bishop, and we end up with the Catalan system, I believe is what it's called, the Catalan. It's I enjoy it. It's a little bit more than a traditional Queen's Gambit. It's just something that I've been playing a lot of, and I find that it leads to some interesting games. So now notice I'm only attacking this pawn once. This knight is not for defense anymore. So if my opponent were to trade off, I'm okay. This pawn is only defended by this knight. So should my opponent try something like this to bring his bishop in and trade off, that pawn is only defended one time by this particular knight. So let's defend it twice. This is what I said about closing that pawn chain. Now that pawn chain's closed, this bishop is going to have a hard time finding a way out. The knight is sufficiently defended no matter what, so I don't have any issues there. But this pawn could have been insufficiently defended should my opponent trade and then swing around with the knight. But now we got it covered. So these are the 10 plus 5 games, 10 minutes on the clock with a 5-second increment. All right, so a few things here. This knight and this bishop are double teaming on my knight. Now I do have it sufficiently defended. One of the things I would like to point out is that this knight is also defended. So I could move my queen and add more defense to this knight should I want. But right now I'm going to go ahead and castle. That's the important thing. I already have this defended twice, so I'm good. Getting castled is the key move here. I'm thinking if I... Pushing F3 is always... Not always. It's always a bad idea. Pushing your F pawn, that's your forget about it pawn from the white side of the board. From the black side of the board, it's a little different. This pawn can be useful. So opponent has this attack twice. I have to keep my queen here to defend it. I was debating on moving my knight out of the way so that I could then push a pawn and try to fork these two. I might still go after that. This knight capturing here does come with an attack on my queen. Oops, does come with an attack on my queen, so I would have to respond to that pretty quickly. Okay. So this pawn is no longer defended. This comes with an attack on the queen. Opponent would have to reposition the queen, and that might give me a chance to sneak in. Let's go with this. Let's see if we can win ourselves a pawn here. I might be missing something. Just looking to see what I might be missing. Now the nice thing is I do have a double attack on this bishop now. I'm thinking, no, my opponent can't even defend it that way. So I'm thinking my opponent would have to defend by coming over here with the queen. So if the queen comes here, queen to d6, do I have anything? No, not really. Now the question is, do I trade once? Do I trade? Eliminate the bishop? I think so. It'll park my opponent's knight here. And what does the knight there, does it do anything? I don't know. I have to move my knight anyway. So do I have any other better options for the knight? No. I mean, here or here are really the only two other options. And why would I bother doing that? That really clusters up my king side. I'm just going to go for the trade. So I'm expecting my opponent to capture back with the knight. If there was any way to drive this queen out of the way, I would like to do that. Now that there's no longer a double attack here, that's covered now. That's covered. Okay, so this is a double attack on the knight. That's well played. I was hoping that if my opponent moved the knight, I'd be able to sneak in here. Now the knight can move back here, here, or here. That gives up a pawn. I might be able to pick up a second pawn, but I just have to be really careful. I guess this comes with an attack on the knight as well. Something to consider anyway. All right, what is my opponent's plan here? What could my opponent do? Forgetting the knight for a second. Capture? Oh, there's a my bishop is hanging. So my bishop is hanging right now. Oops. I hit too many buttons. Sorry, guys. So this bishop is hanging right now. I do not get to win. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not hanging because this. All right. Captures. I think I'm okay. Ah, it does hang at the end of the day. Okay. I'll have two pieces hanging at the end of that. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay. Okay, so my opponent played this really well. Okay. Notice if my opponent captures now, I get to fix my pawns. Okay, so I didn't win a piece. My opponent played it well there. He by eliminating the defender of the bishop. So that was what I missed. Right here when I said my knight was hanging, my bishop was hanging, I mean, that's 100% correct. Because grabbing here eliminated the defender. So, okay. So we fix our pawns. And my opponent immediately challenges him. Let's leave these guys. Let's leave them intact for now. I'm assuming a trade is going to happen here, and then possibly the queen over, which defends the pawn and puts me in check at the same time. So let's see if I can do this. Captures, captures. So the king is sitting here, and then the queen over. Oops, too far. Queen over puts me in check, defending that pawn. That's what I'm guessing. Guess I could stick a rook underneath here. So at this point, I'm scanning my opponent's position, really trying to see what options they have available. I had to go that route. Okay. Now, is there any way that I can put myself in a position where I can grab this without my opponent grabbing it? Have to be careful. Part of me wants to stick my rook on here on the 7th row. Let's go for it. Because if he pushes, then I can capture here. We're just going to have to defend this way. The other things I'm trying to remind myself of are, ooh, clever girl. Right, because that doesn't work. Okay. At the end of the day, no, I'm not dropping that. See, at the end of the day, I'm dropping a pawn, but my opponent can never capture the pawn because he drops the bishop. Queen trade, possibly? Captures, check. And then he picks it up at the end of the day. No, because I move here. All right, so captures, check. I move up. I'm now defending that bishop. Go for it. Wow. Wow, we got the resignation. That's... Wow. Well, we did it. Let me send a quick good game, well played to my opponent. Yeah, I didn't expect that to go that way, honestly. I thought my opponent might have something here. But technically, at this point in time, I am up 2 full pawns. We're transitioning towards an endgame. This bishop is locking me down pretty hard. I do have to be careful, but because the only thing defending it was this queen, it does make things a little more interesting. Now, probably the best bet here would be my opponent to retreat the bishop. I guess retreating the bishop, something like this. Maybe even just something like this. Just retreat the bishop, get it out of there. Because once the bishop is out of the way, then this pawn does become a target. Granted, it's defended now, but it won't always be defended. Right, my queen will have to move. In fact, my opponent also has back rank issues that would need to be solved, which is why he decided to bring the queen back. Because there were those back rank issues. Now, probably a move like this, the rook over, probably a little bit more. Let's take a look. I'm going to keep the engine off. I'm thinking that rook over is probably a pretty strong move. Because what do I do in that situation? Because this is a threat. Everything's defended here, and this becomes a threat. Now, he can't do it right away because I do have checkmate along the back row. Something like that. All right, let's turn the engine on because I'm not sure. Back here, yeah, right here. Let's see. So white, it is up, is up a little bit. Ooh, more than I thought, honestly. Okay, yeah. So here we're even. Ah, gotcha. Okay, so capturing with the bishop means that I get myself out of that pin. Capturing with the bishop. Okay, interesting. Oh, right, because this is already these two things. Ah, interesting. Take a look. So this is a trick that I do sometimes is I play a nothing move just to look to see what the next continuation is. To try to force myself to look at what am I missing. I know I'm missing something, so what am I missing? So this is the issue, is that this is undefended, this is undefended. The knight up here opens up a, so if I move the knight out of the way, this is attacked, and opponent would probably have to shuffle the bishop back this way. Ooh, that's a fork though. Because that all comes with an immediate attack on the queen. So queen takes the queen with check. We're even in material. So all I have to do is move this rook out of the way, and I'm golden. That's an option, but yeah, it's not a great option. Okay. Anyway, back. Okay, so here we are. Wow, the engine says I'm up. I have a lead. Hmm. And that evens it back up there because the engine wants me to grab here. Just get that bishop out from underneath the eye of that. Yeah, and I didn't see it. I just did not see that. I saw that this was defended, but I didn't think one step further. And that's where I'm trying to teach myself, is to go one step further. Okay, this is defended. But one of the main tactics that we talk about is removing one of the defenders. Oh, at least I found there's a couple options here. So white is up a little bit, not a lot. It was a good move by my opponent, I felt. But it still gave me a pawn at the end of the day. So now I'm up 2 full pawns at this point in time. Yep, what did I say? Bring the rook over would be the strong move. Yep. So from here, my opponent dropped, but bringing the rook over does cause some issues. Yeah, look at that swing. That's a huge swing. Because that comes with check. My opponent has enough time to create a hidey hole. Now, if he were to continue with the attack like this, not so much. It's not checkmate because of this. Oops, can't do that because of this. Interesting. Okay, that is an interesting series of events. All right. Anyway, this was a fun game. We started out with a modified Queen's Gambit. I led with the queen pawn. My opponent played the Mykonos defense. Not familiar with it. But yeah, we transitioned into a queen's pawn, or a queen's gambit even. So queen's gambit, Chigora variation. Because this knight has been moved instead of this knight. So typically a queen's gambit, you'll have that knight moved over. But yep. Interesting, interesting, interesting. I even said it previously that this pawn is defended, but only singly defended. So I caught it here, but I didn't catch it here. So go figure. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.